little did I know that a couple of years later, that's what led me to an interview with Disney. At the time, Disney was going to Paris to hire and recruit for the French pavilion at Epcot. And I got a job for a year with a 1 year visa and was fortunate to be part of what they, at the time, what they called the fellowship program. The program does not exist anymore, unfortunately, but it was a great experience. And that set me up for the rest of my career.
You know, Disney is a great training house for people. It has their system and their mentality has helped so many people develop personally and in business. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I can't argue with this. I mean, this is probably one of the best company when it comes to training and to company culture. And I don't think, Dan and I, my husband and I, we've worked for Disney between the two of us for 41 years. And I think we never realize the extent of what Disney does until you get out of it and you start consulting other organizations and you see what kind of onboarding program they have, what kind of training program they have, and you realize how well Disney does that. And you look at culture, and the Disney culture is something that not many companies have been able to emulate. Again, when you're in the middle of the fray, when you work there and you dedicate your career to a company like Disney, you don't necessarily see that or appreciate that. Well, you surely do once you leave Disney and you realize what's going on in the rest of the world.
Now, you have a new book out. Do you care to tell our audience about it?
Yes, I'm very excited. The book comes out in a couple of weeks, and the name is Manage Like a Mother. And it's the idea is to learn from the wisdom of mom. And I think we sometimes take moms for granted, and we often underestimate how much they have to do to raise children. And I'm a mother of three, so I've been, while I worked at Disney, I also raised three kids, and sometimes I even took a break from my professional career to raise my children. And I realized in the process of all this that what it takes to be a great leader is really not much different than what it takes to be a great mom. Now, I don't pretend to have been the perfect mom or to have been the perfect leader, but I for sure have been able to notice the similarities between the two. And those are very simple things, human nature, nurturing, knowing people, adapting to their styles and helping them grow and bloom. And that's what a mom does with a kid. And that's where the book really, the idea behind the book came from.
You know, I look at my amazing wife that I've been married to for 41 years now and how she helps our children and our grandchildren on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like this morning, for example, one of my daughters had to be at work early. So my wife got in the car, went to help get two children on the bus today. Yesterday, our youngest daughter had her winter tires being put on her car. So my wife was there to help drive her to the dealership, help to get things done. You know, a mother's love and work never ends.
That's right. That's right. And I think when we talk about the right kind of leadership, we tend to overcomplicate things generally in life. Our life is complex enough as it is. And you talk about, living a fantastic life. And I think part of that, in order to do that, often you need to go back to basics, and take care of basic things and make sure you address this. And when it comes to leadership, it's about helping people. The great leaders will tell you, my team doesn't work for me, I work for them. I support them, I put them in the right position, in the right job, I provide them with the right training, the right resources, and I help remove roadblocks and challenges, and I facilitate all this. So I'm here to work for them so they can do their job properly. And that's the right approach. It's a very simple approach, but that's the way you can get a team to be engaged and committed and motivated.
Yeah, I call it inspire and believe. Now, what does that mean? Well, first you have to inspire them. You have to get them to buy into the vision. That's where you really get the magic happening. But the second part of that coin is you have to believe in your workers. You got to let them make their own mistakes. You got to let them fall on their butts, just like when a child is starting to walk, and you got to let them pull themselves up. But you got to be there to help them. When they do fall, you got to be there standing at a distance to say, I'm here to help you. I know you can do it. I know you can get it done, but I'm here to help you if you need it.
Absolutely. The analogy you use is it's right on. When a child starts walking, what does a mom say? Once he trips and falls, the mom doesn't say, "What is wrong with you? You're a year old. You should be walking by now." Of course not. She will go and comfort the child, and mom will help the baby and hold his hand a little longer. And maybe the baby wants to crawl a couple more days, and that's okay. And and mom will be here because she understands that she needs to be there for balance and provide the confidence for the child. And the child will. Some kids learn to walk when they're 10 months old. Some kids learn to walk when they're 15 months old, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong. And mom is there, and she has that flexibility, and she's constantly supporting, and she understands that mistakes are to be roadblocks are to be expected. Now think about all this and think about being a leader. If you adopt those very simple principles, that's when you can put together an effective training program. And that's where not only you provide your team members with the skills that are required to do their job, but you give them the confidence that they can do it, and that if they make a mistake, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? So that's this approach. Again, very simple.
Okay. Well, we're going to pause for a message from our commercial messages. Friends, we're talking today with Valerie Cockerell, who has a brilliant new book called Manage Like a Mother. Now, Valerie, in chapter 6 of your book, you talk about because I said so, setting expectations. What do you mean by that?
Well, the irony is, at some time or another, every mother has caught herself saying, because I said so, because, she's been asking the same thing of her children, and she's not getting the response she wants. And mothers very quickly understand that telling people, because I said so, doesn't work with kids, and it doesn't work in leadership either. And then it goes back to what you were saying earlier, that making sure that you ask something of somebody, whether they are your kids or your team members, they understand why you're asking this. Because if they understand the purpose of what they do, they see the value in it. And if they see the value in it, they feel that they matter, they make a difference, right? And whether it is your kids or your team members, you want them to know that they matter and they're important. Anybody, and if you ever engage and talk with homeless people, they will tell you the worst thing is in life is, obviously not having money is bad, but the worst thing is when you are invisible, when nobody notices you, or people pretend not to see you. That's the worst thing that can happen to somebody. That's why we put prisoners in solitary confinement, because being alone and not being visible or mattering to anybody is the worst thing that can happen to a human. So whether it's in the workplace or life in general, knowing that you matter to somebody or to an organization, that you can make a difference, that what you do is important. I always think in an organization, I say, whether you manufacture a product or you deliver a service, what you do is like a big puzzle, right? And every single person in your organization holds a piece of the puzzle. And if you do puzzles, you know that when you're missing a piece of a puzzle, it's glaring and it ruins the whole project, the whole image. And that's the same idea. No piece of the puzzle is more important than another. They all matter. And it's the same in an organization. Everybody's contribution is as important as the next one. And conveying this message and sharing this message with the people you work with really tells them that they matter, their job is important, and they make a difference. And I think that buys you loyalty, buys you a team that is engaged, committed, motivated. And you look at Disney, that's why people stay for so many years working for Disney, because they do that so well.
Now, I've always thought in every culture and every business, certain individuals will go lame after a while. That's where you have to dispense tough love. And in chapter 9, you talk about dispensing tough love. Can you give us your take on that?
Well, here's where I think leaders can learn from moms. Moms get feedback, right, all the time. And it's, as a leader, this is not something we enjoy doing, but it comes with the job. If you don't want to take the heat, get out of the kitchen, as they say. So if you don't want to give feedback, don't be a leader, or don't even be a parent, by the way, because it comes with the job. And mom gives a feedback every day. She doesn't wait for the end of the year, performance review to say, honey, you really, since September, you really misbehave and you antagonize your siblings and you're not taking care of your chores and your grades are not good. So you're not going to have any Christmas presents. Of course, moms don't do that. They give feedback every day. They catch you doing something that is unacceptable, and she will let you know in no uncertain terms, and she bases it on facts. She doesn't wait for a week later to tell you that you caused trouble. She tells you right away. But the big difference is mothers do this and they still love you unconditionally, because they understand one very basic, one fundamental thing about feedback. Feedback is meant to change a behavior, to correct a behavior. It is not about judging character. And if you think about that, delivering feedback is about giving a gift to somebody. It's, mothers give feedback not because they don't love you. On the contrary, they give you feedback because they love you so much and they believe in you so much that they want you to be the best person you can be. And a leader should approach feedback in the same way. And we should all learn to receive feedback in the same way. So when you hear something that is presented to you this way, when a leader says, you know what, here's what's happening, this is where you're not meeting expectation, these are the consequences, this is how it's impacted the organization, and I believe you can be better, and we expect you to change this behavior, and this is how. And now you have a dialogue. Now you have constructive feedback that you can work with. And that's what mothers do. And they do this naturally. They never, it's always about making the child the best, well-rounded adult they can become. And that's the motivation behind it.
Well, we're going to pause for another commercial message, Valerie, but friends, come right back because we have so much more to offer. Friends, we have a very special guest today. Valerie Cockerell of the legendary Cockerell family. We've had Dan on the show before. We've had her father-in-law on the show before. Now we get Valerie. She's writing a new book called Manage Like a Mother. Now, Valerie, managing, raising a family have taught you a lot about having a fantastic life. What is your secret to having a fantastic life?
I think it goes back to, again, taking care of basic things and keeping things simple. I tell you, there's one analogy that comes to my mind. I play tennis. And when I play tennis, and if my shots are not landing where I want them to go and where my game is totally off, usually what I do is I tell myself, okay, let's go back to basics. Keep your eyes on your ball, bend your knees, and follow through. and I focus on this for about a game. And eventually, little by little, my game will come back and I'm going to loosen up again and my shots are going to land when they're supposed to go. And I think that in life, if you want to lead a fantastic life, you have to keep things simple and address those things. Now, be careful, because don't confuse simple with easy. It doesn't mean it's easy to do, but focusing on those basic things will allow you to get back on track. And we live in a society, in a world that is so complicated. There's so much pressure, so much coming at us. It's hard to make a decision. It's hard to, decide how to move through the fray. That sometimes, like, okay, let me go back to basic. Let me go back to what matters most, to what's going to bring the most value to my life, to my job, to my family and the people I love. And by doing this, I think it refocuses you on what really matters. There's behind my business card, I have a little quote that says, "Don't be a squirrel." And the reason why I put that there, a lot of people ask me, so why, what does that mean? I said, well, in this world, we get so many notification and alerts, and there's so many new things happening all the time that we're like squirrels. We change directions all the time. When a squirrel always gets attracted by something else, we're all becoming squirrels. And I'm like, let's stop this and let's think, this is what matters to me. This is what's important. This is where I should focus my time. And that's where I need to apply myself. And I think, mothers, and again, another motivation and story behind the book is what's going to make the biggest difference in my kids' life. Reading a book with them every night when they're 3 or 4 years old, so they develop a love for reading. A mother does that. Why she has that? Because moms have that long-term vision also, which a leader should have. They know that if I teach my child to love to read, he or she will perform better at school. And if he or she performs better at school, there's a chance that he'll be able to follow the career of his choosing and lead a better life and a happier life. So mothers have that, always that long-term vision. And it's a simple thing, those little acts of love can make a big difference in dedicating, investing your time into those things that will pay dividends, or it's a long-term investment. And that's another similarity between a leader and a mom. It's a long-term commitment. It requires patience. It requires diplomacy. You have to be flexible because you have to adapt to your kids. If you have one kid, you think you know it all, and then the second one comes around and you realize, no, nope, that one doesn't respond in the same way, and the third one, and so on. So you have to adapt and customize to every single one of your child. And then, most of all, leadership, just like parenting, is a learn on the job process. There is no perfect playbook that will give you every scenario and tells you, well, if this happened, this is what you need to do. So there's going to be a fair amount of learning on the job that's going to have to happen. And but again, generally is just keeping things very simple. And I think that's why that analogy will help leaders remind themselves how to take care of basic leadership competencies and address them. Think about it. What did my mom did for me, by the way? And that's another thing I want to add, is that I hope the book is not perceived as being a woman's book or a mother's book only, because we all have one thing in common. We all have a mom, and whether our mom was perfect or imperfect, I believe that by virtue of being a child, we've been on the receiving end of mothering, so we know what works and what doesn't. We all remember those times when our mom was, supporting us, encouraging us, giving us the right guidance, and not micromanaging. We also remember the opposite, when maybe our mom wasn't setting expectation clearly, and then we were being held accountable and we felt it wasn't fair. So we've learned through that process. Now remember those learning, remember those insights, and apply that to the workplace. And I think that will greatly enhance your leadership skills.
Valerie, how can people find a copy of your book and perhaps more about you?
Well, the book is available wherever you buy books. It's actually available for pre-sale right now. Don't it's available on iBooks, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, of course, and I believe Kindle will be available also. It comes out on October 10th, 23, so a couple of weeks. Very excited about this. And otherwise, people can reach out to me at carcolconsulting.com. I love engaging with people, responding to questions. If you have any, you want to learn more about us and what we do, please don't hesitate. I'm only an email or a text or WhatsApp away. So look us up. And if you get the book, I hope you enjoy it. I'm really proud of it and I'm really excited about it.
Valerie, thank you so much for coming on our show today. It was a pleasure to have you. I looked so forward to having you on.
Thank you. Likewise, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor, and I hope we'll get to chat sometime soon, very soon.
Sure, very soon. And friends, if you would like to know exactly where you are on that journey to a fantastic life, go to lifequalityassessment.com. Take the 25 questions and you'll find exactly where you are. Plus, you will get a manual that'll take you to the next level. And there are hints and a plan to make every day fantastic for you. Also, go to my website, dralanleica.com, and sign up for my Golden Pearls. And you'll get one each and every week to your mailbox, and it will make your life fantastic if you let it. Bye for now, and have a fantastic day. Wow, that was good.
Hey, good. Appreciate it. That was fun.
It was. We had a little hiccup with the vision there at the beginning, but it doesn't matter. Just another little thing to learn along the way.
That's part of the that's what I always say. I said, when you stick your neck out there and try new things, there are only two things that can happen. You're going to find a great opportunity, or you're going to make a big mistake, but you're going to learn from that mistake. So it's all good either way.
It is. So thank you again, Valerie. This next thing, Tammy will get this. She'll get it into the works. It'll get edited by my team, and then it'll get up on the thing. And Tammy will keep you abreast of where it is in the process.
Terrific. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and hopefully we'll catch up sometime soon.
Bye for now.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.